Last night I was almost asleep. Genuinely almost there, that soft, floaty stage right before you drop off completely. And then my whole body jolted like I had missed a step on a staircase that does not exist. My eyes snapped open, my heart was pounding, and I was lying flat on a mattress the entire time. Ancient humans had this exact moment. Except for them, it was not a false alarm. Somewhere, a very long time ago, an ancestor of yours was sleeping somewhere much higher up than a mattress, and their body developed a very specific emergency response for exactly this situation. Muscles going slack, brain sensing a fall, and reacting before the thought even finished forming. Which makes MS wonder, if this reflex was built to save your ancestor's life 50 feet up in a tree, why is it still going off tonight, on a bed, on solid ground, for absolutely no reason at all? Hi, I'm Marin Still, and today, we are finding out why your brain still thinks you sleep in a tree. MS is not going to tell you that jolt is some random nervous system malfunction you should be embarrassed about. MS is going to show you that this is one of the oldest, most literal pieces of evolutionary leftover hardware in your entire body, still running a rescue mission for a fall that stopped being possible millions of years ago. And by the end of this, you will never feel that jolt the same way again. Here is what is actually happening in your body, mechanically, before we get to the ancient part. Scientists call this a hypnic jerk, sometimes a sleep start, and it happens during the exact transition between being awake and being asleep. Your muscles are relaxing rapidly for sleep, your breathing is slowing, and for a brief moment, your brain is genuinely uncertain whether you are still upright or not. One of the earliest formal studies of this, conducted by researcher Ian Oswald in 1959, documented these sudden muscle jerks occurring specifically at the boundary of sleep onset and connected them to shifts in brain activity happening in that exact window. It is not random. It has a precise, repeatable trigger point, right at the edge of consciousness slipping away. Stay with me. It gets weirder. Because the leading explanation for why this reflex exists in the first place goes back to something your ancestors actually did every single night for an extraordinarily long stretch of human history. They slept in trees. This was not occasional. For a huge portion of our evolutionary past, sleeping up in the branches was the safest option available. Ground level at night meant leopards, hyenas, and other predators that could not follow you up a tree trunk. Height was survival, but height also came with an obvious, brutal problem. If your muscles relaxed too much, too fast, during the descent into sleep, you could simply lose your grip and fall. And falling was not a minor injury back then. This is not a guess. In 2016, paleoanthropologist John Kappelman led a study analyzing the skeleton of Lucy, one of the most famous early hominin fossils ever found, an Australopithecus afarensis who lived roughly 3 million years ago. Using detailed CT scans of her bones, Kappelman's team found fracture patterns consistent with a fall from a significant height, the kind of injury patterns seen in modern cases of people falling from trees or buildings. Lucy, by this analysis, likely died from exactly the danger your body is still defending you against every single night. So evolution did what evolution always does when the stakes are life or death. It built a safety mechanism. If your brain detects that your muscles are relaxing rapidly while your body still believes it might be somewhere elevated, it fires an emergency signal, a sudden full-body muscle contraction, strong enough to jolt you back to alertness and, crucially, tighten your grip before an actual fall could happen. Your body was not trying to wake you up to annoy you. It was trying to save your life by catching you mid-fall before the fall had even really started. This is not just a human quirk either. Researchers studying how great apes actually sleep, including work by primatologist Fiona Stewart on chimpanzee sleeping nests, have documented how carefully chimpanzees construct elevated sleeping platforms specifically to prevent falls during the night, weaving branches into stable structures before settling in. The construction itself is evidence of exactly how real this danger has always been for a primate trying to sleep above the ground. If the risk of falling were trivial, no species would bother building an entire piece of architecture just to sleep safely. Here is the detail that genuinely gets MS every time. Your ancestor, sound asleep in a tree, muscles slowly loosening for real rest, would have their brain interpret that loosening as a 5-alarm emergency. Falling. Now. Contract everything. Grab the branch. And it worked. It kept an actual body attached to an actual tree limb, one night at a time, for generation after generation. Now picture that same reflex firing tonight. You are lying flat. There is no branch. There is no height. There is, structurally speaking, nowhere left to fall from. And your brain does not know any of that. It just senses the same muscle relaxation pattern it has been trained across an almost unimaginable span of evolutionary time to treat as an emergency. And it fires the exact same response. Full body jolt, muscles locking, eyes snapping open, heart rate spiking, for a fall that was never actually going to happen. Which brings me back to my mattress, at midnight, jolting awake over absolutely nothing. I used to find that jolt mildly annoying, honestly, a little embarrassing, like my body was overreacting to nothing. Now I think about it completely differently. That jolt is not my body malfunctioning. It is a rescue reflex, fully intact, fully functional, still faithfully doing its one job, protecting an ancestor who has not existed for millions of years, from a tree that has not been there for just as long. So the next time you jolt awake right as you are drifting off, remember what that reflex actually is. It is not anxiety. It is not a glitch. It is your body running the exact same emergency protocol that once kept your ancestors from becoming one more fall statistic in the fossil record. Still checking, every single night, just in case you happen to be 50 feet up in a tree. Hi, I'm Marin Still, and now you can never unknow this.